Hey everyone, Justine the Twilight Stamper here, and I am here to celebrate a blog hop featuring Suzy stamps because we decided to surprise Suzy with a blog hop for her birthday, so happy birthday. I'm going to start off by taking my card base, which measures 11 by 4¼ inches. I scored it at 5½ inches to make a top folding card. I decided to play around with a technique I learned from one of my design team members, my fellow design team members, and she had actually used an embossing folder with VELLUM. And so when I open it up, you can see how really cool this looks. Now it is quite fragile after I opened it, I noticed, and it kind of ripped a little bit on some of those seams, but overall once I glued it, I didn't have any issues with it, and I really love the way that it turned out. I used a piece of washi tape to hold my card base in place here while I didn't want it to pop it up because with the stamp press it would then hit the stamp filled with ink and that wouldn't be good. I'm using the Seasons of Thanks stamp set from Close to My Heart to create my background today, and I'm using this sort of tree trunk background sort of stamp here, and we're going to cover the whole background with using this stamp set. I'm going to be using the Smoky Slate Ink from Stampin' Up! To ink this up here. I was looking for a really soft gray color for this, and it also almost has, to me anyway, almost like a purpley tinge to it a little bit. And so I decided to stamp this, and I'm not really too concerned about anything not stamping properly because this is going to go actually under the vellum and you're not going to see it 100% all over the card. So I'm just stamping along here and leaving a little bit of space in between each stamp and trying to line them up as best as possible. So it took me 3 times, and you'll notice that I have a little bit of a space between the 2 stamps there, but it ended up not being an issue in any way. I'm using just a tape runner here to glue down the vellum. I didn't bother using any special adhesive or vellum adhesive because there's so much detail on the vellum you won't be able to see the adhesive through it anyway. And when you plop it down here onto the card base, you'll notice how it softens up those trees that we stamped on the background, and I think it has a really, really cool look to it. I'm going to hold it up to the light here and off to the side so you can see the texture that it creates. The next thing I'm going to do is do a little bit of stamping and fussy cutting. This is the February Stamp of the Month from Close to My Heart, and I'm using this to create a stem for the flower. I inked up the stem using New Sprout ink from Memento ink and stamped it onto a scrap piece of white paper. I ended up fussy cutting all of these things when I was finished stamping them. The next thing I did was I grabbed a stamp from Suzy Stamps called the Peony flower stamp, and I used a rock and roll technique to stamp this. The inks I used here were Rosebud and Angel Pink, and I did a rock and roll technique. So I took that dark color and kind of just inked up the edges to create a really cool rock and roll look. So then you get that sort of different layered effect. I cut them all out and using the fussy cutting technique, aka scissors, and I recommend micro tip scissors for this because that was quite a fine design to be cutting out by hand, and I glued them on using my Tombow mono glue. I decided I wanted to prop up the flower also on some 3D tape, so I pushed the stem here down and I added some 3D foam to the flower here, and I peeled off the backing and put that onto the card and trimmed off the stem. The next thing I did was ink up the love stamp here, the sentiment, using VersaMark ink, and I stamped that onto some vellum. This is also a stamp from Suzy Stamps, and I know it's Suzy's birthday, but I decided to create a love card, and not because I'm in love with Suzy, which, you know, sometimes I actually think I'm in love with her style and her humor. I actually created this because I wanted to just express my appreciation for being on the design team and having so much fun and just loving playing with her stamps. So I decided to create one of these. That, and I don't have a birthday stamp. And anyway, I decided to cut out this love sentiment here after heat embossing it. Just a quick little tip here on heat embossing on vellum. Make sure your heat gun is at full energy, you could say. Make sure you let it run for a couple of seconds before putting it to the vellum, and everything should melt really fast. I used fine embossing powder, super fine embossing powder by Ranger in white for that, and I used the same tape runner to put my sentiment onto the card. Originally I was planning on doing a banner, but then I decided on just a regular rectangle would do just fine for the card. So that's the end of the card, and I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to click on my direct link below to my blog post for the blog hop so you can check out the other designers' work. There are also some prizes that are being given away, including a $15 gift card to Sew Suzy Stamps sponsored by myself, as well as a 1-month subscription to some online tutorials. So be sure to leave a comment and they will be announcing the winner on Monday, February 23rd, 2015. So thank you so much again. Be sure to subscribe and give a thumbs up if you like this video.